So each year, running brands seem to keep making their super shoes better and better, and in 2023 we got some big updates and even some new models. In this video I'm going to go through each of those models, kind of give you a quick TLDR of what I thought about them, and then at the end I'm going to give you my top 3 shoes that I would pick for the marathon, and then probably 1 or 2 for like a 10K half marathon. But yeah, lots of exciting stuff. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So one of the first super shoes to launch widely in 2023 was the New Balance FeelCell SC Elite V3, and it got quite a few changes from the previous version. This one got a more aggressive plate, and I think the ride was solid for it. It was soft and bouncy, but you were still able to pick up the pace. However, I wasn't a big fan of this upper. I thought that the lockdown wasn't great. I had to kind of play around with the laces mid-run. I got some rubbing from these seams here, and the upper just did not work for me, which was disappointing because I did like that soft squishy midsole with that extra pop off the toe. I kind of wish they just kept the upper from V2 on here and had the V3 midsole. So when you think of competitive super shoes, I don't think Mizuno necessarily comes to mind, but in 2023 they released their first real super shoe, and it was a pretty crazy one. It has a very aggressive heel geometry to throw you on your forefoot, has some crazy cutouts to it, and with this weird geometry, it's actually over 40 millimeters in the thickest part of the heel, but based on World Athletics measurements, it can kind of get around it, so it's still legal. But I was actually surprised with this shoe and really enjoyed it. Once I kind of got used to that aggressive geometry in the heel, you felt all that plush cushion underfoot. So Saucony introduced a brand new shoe to its Endorphin lineup over 2023, and that is the Endorphin Elite. And what makes this difference from the Endorphin Pro is that it uses a new foam. It uses Power Run HG instead of Power Run PB, and this is a sheet of PEBA foam instead of the little beads of PEBA foam put together. Even though this has the same stack height in the heel as the Endorphin Pro 3, to me it felt like there was more underfoot, more cushioning to it, but that cushioning was firmer to me than the Endorphin Pro 3. However, the upper was super minimal, very lightweight, but still kept you locked in, and it had a very aggressive forefoot rocker to it that really threw you on your toes. And once I kind of got used to that more aggressive rocker to it, this shoe was definitely fast, and I enjoyed really racing it and doing some key workouts in it. However, this very aggressive forefoot geometry might be a little too aggressive for some people, and I think that the Endorphin Pro 3 probably appeals to a wider range of runners. So in 2023, Hoka finally released a real super shoe with real super foam and up to the max 40 millimeter limit. So this is the Rocket X2. Like I said, it uses PEBA foam now, and it's a very soft and squishy formula. It has the carbon fiber plate in there as well, that instead of being flat like their previous shoes, it now is more kind of spoon shaped. So it does give you a nice propulsive feel because of that as well. Very minimal, kind of reminds me of the Vaporfly Next% 1 upper to it, but overall I actually really like this shoe. It didn't blow me out of the water like anything groundbreaking like new geometries or anything crazy like that, but I'd say it definitely caught up to the competition and is a solid shoe overall. Next up is an update to the original modern super shoe, and that is the Vaporfly Next% 3, and this one got some pretty big changes. One thing I really noticed was the ZoomX formula. It felt softer to me, but yet it was still definitely very responsive and energetic. And another thing that I seem to notice is I feel like the base net got wider because it didn't feel as unstable in the heel as it did in the Vaporfly Next% 1 and 2. Thought the upper didn't fit, it was maybe a little bit baggy fitting to me. Maybe I could have gone down half a size and fixed that. But overall, the underfoot feel of it was more approachable for me to run the marathon in. The Vaporfly Next% 1 and 2 were never marathon considerations for me because of the skinny heel and kind of a little firmer feeling. So this one changed my opinion on that. But I thought that the durability on the shoe was worse than the previous versions. but overall I thought it was a good update. And finally, we have the On Cloudboom Echo 3, and this again is their first shoe with PIBA, a real super shoe. So this uses Helion HF, I believe is what they call it, and that is just their PIBA foam compound. It has the carbon fiber plates or speedboard in there as well. Very nice, lightweight, minimal upper. Again, kind of similar to the Vaporfly Next Percent 3. I thought the upper was a little baggy for me. I think they have the extra eyelets here I need to play around with to get a better lockdown, but overall not bad. I think the midsole is very on par with the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. I think it felt a little bit firmer than the Vaporfly Next Percent 3, and it had a little bit of a skinny, unstable heel to it. But overall, I think On made a solid super shoe, but it is definitely on the pricier side for what you get. And for my preferences, I like something that's going to be a little more stable and more soft underfoot for the full marathon, but this I do really like for 10K distances. So before we get into my top 3 picks, let's just kind of talk about my preferences when I'm picking a marathon super shoe. To me, I want something that's going to be relatively stable underfoot, so at the end of a marathon when my form's breaking down, I'm not rolling around all over the place. But I also want something that's going to be a little bit softer underfoot, a little bit squishy. I don't want something that's going to be super firm. Some people like that, but for me, for marathon, I like a little bit softer. So that influences my decision, and that's why, based on my preferences, out of all these shoes, my number 1 pick for the marathon is actually the Hoka Rocket X2. Like I said, it has that soft, squishy foam that I'm looking for, but it didn't feel unstable to me. I think it had that wider base net that helped with that, plus the plate in there, and I think it was a pretty solid shoe. Coming in at number 2 is the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro, and again, this one's maybe not as soft and plush and squishy underfoot. However, like I mentioned, there's all that foam underfoot, so you get a lot of protection. Your legs aren't going to feel as beat up at the end of the race, and that geometry was pretty unique too, so if you're kind of start to heel strike towards the end, it's really going to throw you back on your toes and get your pace going. And for number 3, the Saucony Endorphin Elite. So this one has enough foam underfoot for me to feel protective. However, it is a little firmer than I typically prefer for my marathon racer, but that upper is so minimal and keeps your foot locked in despite having no heel counter at all. I thought it was pretty unique and is definitely a good choice if you get used to that 4-foot rocker that's pretty aggressive. So some people are probably going to be pretty upset that I didn't choose the Vaporfly, since that's probably a lot of your favorite marathon racers, but again, for me personally, I think it's just not quite stable enough for the full marathon. I definitely prefer the Alphafly for the full marathon, but this is still a really great shoe, and it's one of my favorite half marathon shoes. And since we're at it, might as well talk about my pick for the 10K as well, which I kind of already mentioned, but the On Cloudboom Echo 3. So there we have it. In 2023, we saw brands kind of start to branch out and either throw away their EVA foams and finally get a PIBA-based foam, or if they've already had PIBA-based shoes, they started to play around with different formulas of it or add different crazy geometries to the shoe. I think it was a pretty good and innovative year. However, 2024 is right around the corner, and we already have a lot of exciting stuff coming up next year, and it's an Olympic year. So we have the Alphafly 3 coming up real soon, which gets a big redesign. I'm excited about that. We have the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, which gets an even crazier geometry. The SE Elite V4 gets rid of the upper I did not like and introduces a full PIBA blend foam. So again, lots of exciting stuff, and I think we'll even see companies announce new models, new super shoes around the Olympic trials time leading up to the Olympics. I don't know, I think it's going to be a big year for super shoes. Let me know in the comments down below which of these super shoes was your favorite. Was it none of these on the list? Did you have the same as me or differ? I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. I hope you had a great 2023, and let's look forward to an exciting 2024.